You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
October 13th, roughly 14 hours ago, Jay Rosehill takes to X. Already tired of feeling shitty about sports. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, the Tuesday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Welcome to Toronto Sports. How are we, Rosie? Presented by Bet365 on this
Yeah. Back-to-back Jays losses, back-to-back Leaf losses. Wasn't ideal, man. Wasn't the ideal weekend that I had pictured in my head as far as sporting watching, which I was pretty excited for the lineup and got disappointed multiple times in a row.
Imagine yesterday I was sitting on my couch. Imagine being a fan of the Blue Jays, the Maple Leafs, the Buffalo Bills. You got the trifecta of losses yesterday. Like, that's effectively what happened.
Yeah, it's I don't know. My with the Jays, it's just kind of like, oh damn it, I thought we were gonna, and we still can have some real exciting things and rah and the whole country gets rallying. And then on the Leaf side of thing, it's just like, geez, it's like that's your response to blowing a 2-goal lead in Detroit against Detroit when you go back home, when everyone's kind of watching and the stage is set and Stoley's still in, and you seriously do that. So that was the biggest disappointment to me, although bigger stage for the Jays. But yeah, we're a little more invested in the Leafs, and I didn't really like what I saw, if I'm going to be honest here.
We're going to break it down. Don't worry. Lots coming on today's podcast. Obviously, I think from the Blue Jays perspective, they're obviously in deep trouble. I mean, you lose the first 2 games on home field. Now have to go out to Seattle for 3, 4, and 5. I think you're in trouble. From the Maple Leafs perspective, I tend to agree. It's funny going into the weekend. I'm like, if they don't get at least 3 points, I'm going to be pissed off. And they got 0.
So you're pissed off?
I wouldn't say so. I think the sky's not falling. Last time I checked, the sun came up today. They do this every October, okay? Let's call a spade a spade. I go on different platforms, and are you worried about the Leafs? No, I'm not worried about the Leafs. We're going to talk a lot about level of concern today, 0 to 10. I'm probably at a 1. I'll be honest. I don't know if you're in that same conversation, but I think it's going to take a while for these guys to put it together. And I think the biggest positive I can draw from the last couple games, we saw moments where they put it all together for a couple shifts.
You are oddly positive, Mr. Nicky. I guess.
Dude, it's game 3.
It.
I got people texting me, be like, "Oh, are they going to make the playoffs?" I'm like, "You have to be kidding me." They're like, "What's going on with the league?" Like, you have to be kidding me, though, right?
That is the saving thing here, is that they do this. It is only 3 games, and they do this every October, as you mentioned. So yeah, there's reason to slough it off and brush it off and say, hey, this isn't a big deal. Don't read too much into it. Don't overreact. And I get that. And I don't think you need to overreact or define what this team is. But I'm just talking about the first 3 games. I'm not talking about the 82 totality of the whole season or who this team is or anything. I'm just talking about, I just watched 3 games, and the biggest thing to me is like the intensity and I guess just the effort level. It looks shit. And some guys are going a little bit here and there, but I mean, Willie Nylander is the leader of this team in a lot of ways, is one of the best players on the team. And man, that's a good way to piss people off, is to have that lackadaisical attitude towards the game. Like you're above it or you don't care. It's beneath you to try. It looks like shit. And I know he's done it before, but I mean, you got to step up without Mitchie Boy, and you got to be, the big dog who sets the tone and sets the table for the guys who haven't played in Toronto before. Easton Cowan's coming to start his NHL career. You give an effort around that when he's supposed to look up to you, and you put that effort together. That's I don't know. You can pull the clips of his lowlights of him not trying, and it's like, I would expect to be told to take my shit off if I gave that kind of effort in that league. But I know Willie's a different cat, but I'm not thrilled with the first handful of games that I've watched, regardless of what that means.
It's funny. I was in the media room after the game yesterday. Craig Berube's doing his press conference, and you could tell people are just asking questions, trying to tiptoe the elephant in the room that is Willie Nylander. Just the way they navigated and asked the questions, pretty much bluntly saying the guy has been shit. But man, he's going through the motions. He's just skating out there. He's not receiving passes. He's not back checking. But again, we've seen moments of where he deserves so much praise, and he's been so good, and he's taken over hockey games that you just tend to side with that. And we talk a lot about this relationship with Craig Berube, but man, it's just very preseason so far for Nylander. And the fact that we're 3 games in, and I mean, that's pretty much what it was yesterday. Craig Berube calling out his star player after the 3rd game of the season, not what I had in terms of my early season docket here.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. If this was preseason, I think that's a bad look, right? It's like, hey, Willie, the season's going to start here soon, man. We got to kind of get on it. Like, let's start to form good habits and set a good example for the rest of the team. You are one of the big dogs on this outfit, and you need to, act accordingly and play accordingly. That's what I'd say in the preseason. This is, game 3 after not a very great start, and you just blew a 2-goal lead down to an inferior opponent and lost. Now you're coming home for this matinee where you do have your starting goalie in there, and it's time to absolutely 100% get 2 points. And again, you could pull up a low light clip, 4 or 5 clips in a row where he's just dog fucking it. That's just not acceptable. And it pisses a guy off to say, well, what's going through their minds if, everyone else is free? Like, why do the fans have to care more than the players do sometimes? And I like Willie Nylander and everything, but this is the National Hockey League. This is the big stage in Toronto. I just don't know anybody who would think that it's acceptable to just completely give a half-assed effort right there where you can't even be bothered to take the extra stride or reach a little bit harder, or make sure you protect that puck, or, do a high percentage play down low. No, just it bothers me. It rubs me the wrong way in a lot of ways. And I know I like Willie, and I know what he has to offer, and I know what he can be. But at that particular point early in the season, with all those things, intangibles that I had mentioned leading up to that game, to do that, it's going to piss a lot of people off, and people wonder where the negativity from Toronto fans comes from. It's stuff like that right there.
Man, the chain of events that led to the Mason Appleton goal with 45 seconds left was insane. From Willie mishandling the puck in the O-zone to the lack of the back check, the nasty sauce on the 2-on-1, and then the face-off. It was just nasty in terms of chain of events. Great shot by Appleton, but they iced the puck. It was just like, it was like Final Destination. They were going to lose that game. It really felt that way.
Yeah, and that's like reminiscent of some of the games and seasons that we've seen out of these guys where it's like, there it is. Oh, we're back. Yes, we did. Oh, no. And we're done. It's like frustrating. But, again, the Red Wings have our number a little bit. Okay. But it was a boring game to watch. I know they outplayed the Wings in a lot of different disciplines. Obviously, shots on net were super lopsided. But, I almost fell asleep during that game. And I've talked about their intensity level here a couple of times now in this very short season that they've had so far. And it's just, to me, it's not really going to get it done. And on a day where you're coming back and you need to get retribution for what happened in Detroit against this team that it's a team that doesn't even make the playoffs, and you're supposed to be a Stanley Cup contender. You should come out and rectify the wrongs that happened down in Detroit and make sure you're covering all your bases. But it was kind of sloppy. It was kind of half-assed. No one was willing to penetrate the middle or just raise their intensity level. And I'm sorry, but that's what this team needs to start to inject into their DNA to have success. And I know it's only game 3 or 4 or whatever, but you have to be able to access that, and that has to be part of your DNA. That's the definition of it being your DNA, is that's just what you do. That's what you fall back on. That's what you revert to when you need to do something and respond. And it just didn't seem to be there at all, which it's early. It doesn't need to be there right now, I guess. And you can look at the glass being half full, but I would prefer if they showed that was what they were made of, and that's what they could access early. And the guys that they brought on were all cut from that cloth, and you could bring up the intensity level and force yourself on a game to get into that thing a little earlier. But it wasn't there. So it was disappointing. And again, they do this in October. So I'll patiently wait for them to pop out of it and start playing better hockey, I guess.
Let's blame it on the tryptophan, because that barn was dead for the first 40 minutes, including the crowd. And then in the third period is actually inspiring hockey to a degree. But that's what they do. They go down 2-0. They're like, oh, we're playing hockey today. And they score 2 goals and they pull you back in. And then Appleton scores the winner there. Our Super Chat charity partner is
game before they're up 2 goals and they blow it. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
They do it you can spot them 2 goals or you can put them
Either
behind,
way.
and it's just it's annoying because they're a better hockey team, but they just play good enough to lose, which is that's
Mhm.
got to be frustrating for Craig Berube, and because I know it's frustrating for me to sit here and watch. You can lose it any different way you want. We'll just find a way to lose just by a little bit because we just don't quite give enough effort to win. Like that's bullshit.
I think that the most frustrating thing you can say as a fan, and even as a former player, not to speak for you, is that they have it in them, right? They show these moments, the gusto in the third period. Dude, they had the puck the entire third period. You see that? That's what pisses me off. So we move forward here on Leafs Morning Take. Our Super Chat charity partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and third in the world. We got a couple Super Chats to get to. Maxentius Decimus, thank you for this one. 0 effort in 2 games versus Detroit, leaving me uninspired. So the voice of the nation already speaking up there.
I would have to agree with Max Factor there. I exactly uninspired. I was just like, you're expecting a response, especially yesterday, right? And now you got a back to back, and now you got probably this Primo kid playing, or else you're going to risk hurting Stoli again by being forced to place him back to back because you kind of really need a win to get that week going or finish off whatever that was. It's unacceptable and it's uninspiring, and it's not like alarm bells are going off or they couldn't just fix this at the drop of a hat, but it's just culture wise, like why after blowing a 2-goal lead down in Detroit, why was the leadership there not like, hey, listen up, this is how it's going to be done, get on my back, I'll lead the way and part the seas for you guys, and you guys come in behind and pick up the slack and get this thing done, and we'll guarantee a goddamn 2 points here. No, it was, I'm going to half-heartedly reach for this, I'm going to bounce it off the wall behind my back and then just turn around and go, oh shit, where did that go? Oh shit, there they go. I'll kind of half-heartedly, like, no, sorry, that's not the culture that I think breeds the mentality that gets you through a really tough game 5, 6, or 7 in the playoffs that they obviously have a problem with. So not inspiring hockey to start at all. But again, that could change in a hurry. So I'm not going full scorched earth, but there's nothing about that I really liked.
Fair enough. For those wondering on how to send a super chat, pretty much it's that bill with the money through it there on your screen. You just click that and it takes you through the steps. John Gallagher, thank you so much for the super chat. Be patient. He says they're a young team still learning to play the right way and play a full 60 minutes. I think that was a joke, right? Because they're one of the more older teams in the league, but it's so true, man. It's so true.
Well, I don't know. Like maybe they can turn it on, I guess, but like
I hope.
A point last night counts the same as a point in April when you're trying to solidify yourself, and it's going to matter where they finish in the standings. It's going to matter who their opponent is in the playoffs. It is, and the 2 points yesterday were just worth just as much as down the road. So if you want to dogfuck it and give away all the points this year, like, you're going to look back and regret it. And why would you start off shitty? Like, seriously, you had all summer to dick around and be lazy and do whatever you wanted and get your workout in and then go sit by the beach all day long. Go and do it then. Why would you come and screw the pooch like back to back, right? It's not, I understand you can have a bad game and shit, this got away from us. And we rested on our laurels a little bit when we had a 2-goal lead. It happens to everybody, but then you got time to reset against the exact same opponent. Now it's really time to, jump on the formula and the strategy and the game plan and really double down and just make sure that when your skates are touching the ice, we're going 100% and we're doing things the right way. Now we're going to go dick around a little bit and screw off and forget about this guy and forget to even keep our head on a swivel. And I'm going to half-heartedly try to get this puck out. I guess, he wanted to keep it in more than I wanted to keep it out. That's I'm sour on it. I didn't really want to do this show because I'm like, what am I supposed to say about that shit? The whole time I was watching, I was just like, what are you guys doing? Like, you had all summer to you should be chomping at the bit. You should be fresh. You should be wanting to establish your season the right way. You should want to, show the new guys like how we're going to do. You should show Berube, I'm one of the guys that's willing to buy into this system because I believe in it. And that's like the building blocks to becoming a really good team. And it takes a whole season to get there oftentimes. But no, you're just going to dick around. And like, what do you think the blowback is from Toronto Maple Leafs fans this weekend after those 2 efforts? It bothers me, man.
AC Parker 13 writes in, Cam Talbot stole a game in early October and Rosie's acting like Tree should blow it up. But I think it's just about the process. I get that.
No, I haven't said anything about the players or blowing it up or where they're at. It's just a simple mindset. Like where are these guys at? And from what I saw consistently, especially from guys that are supposed to be in leadership positions, it's frustrating. And I guess it's because I was never able to rest on my laurels or get away with taking a day off or anything like that. It's just like you already did that on Saturday and you're gonna do that. Like it's I'm not blowing it up. I'm not criticizing the team. I know they could flip the switch just as easily and we would never even remember this weekend. But the fact is that hasn't happened yet. And we're talking about what we've just seen. And what I just saw was, how do you expect that to be good enough? And how do you have the balls to give that effort? And I guess I'm still hung up on Nylander a little bit, which that Willie's doing Willie things. But yeah, again, I'm not trying to overreact or blow things up, but you want to ask me what I thought of the last 2 games? There it is.
The confusing part is the way last season ended, specifically game 5 and 7. You should be hornier than the Blue Jays to go to their bullpen. I'll be blunt about it. And they haven't been. Like the killer instinct to be there to prove this year we're different. And we haven't seen it yet. They could have easily lost the first game too and be sitting in an 0-3 hole right now. They got lucky, I thought, to win that game against the Montreal Canadiens. So that's the more concerning part for me. Nevertheless, we got Carter Hutton, our old friend here on the podcast, coming up in about 15 minutes time. We're going to zero in the goaltending, whether it's Stolarz, Primo, Hildeby, the Wolves situation. So Carter Hutton's coming up. Don't forget, coming up tonight, there were back-to-back on home ice at Scotiabank Arena. Don't forget to tune in after the game to the Leafs Nation After Dark with Zach Phillips, who, by the way, is filling in for producer Vic today. So shout out to Zach. I'm going to be on After Dark tonight, so looking forward to that. When the Nashville Predators in town, Rosie, and they're 2-0-1. So you don't get any breaks in this league, do you?
Yeah, not really. The back-to-back, we knew that was coming all week. Yeah, they're a little bit hot too. You're probably, I don't know, my best guess, we can ask Huts here what his thoughts are on it. The Leafs could use a win 100%, but they have one legit goalie, and they're probably going to have to go to a less than legit goalie until they can establish themselves as more than that. And again, whether that's Primo or Hildeby, I kind of feel like it's going to be Primo, and hopefully he can play solid and they can give him a chance and play well in front of them. But yeah, they got themselves in a little bit of a hole here. And, you know, if you didn't want to work on Saturday and you didn't want to work yesterday, well, now you got to fucking work, or it is going to be a problem. And the city is going to start to, you know, get down on you more than they already are right now. And if your effort stinks, then you deserve it. But we will see what happens. Again, the Preds, it's one of those teams. It's like, we don't play them all that often and they can be hot or cold. And I don't know, again, if the Leafs just play their game and give an honest effort, they can beat anyone in the league. But I hope we see more inspiring hockey than we saw yesterday.
Yes, sir. I'm expecting a battle of the backups in this game. Caden Primo against Justus Annunen after Usaros got the 4-1 win in Ottawa yesterday afternoon. At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. This opening segment is brought to you by Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. Now you have the power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand. Just prep it, snap it, crisp it, serve it, all in one container. This glass air fryer is PFSA free, thus no harmful chemical while cooking. It includes a small 6-cup and a larger 4-quart Tupperware container, whether you're whipping up quick single-serve meals in 7 minutes, sharing crispy snacks on the go, or serving a crowd. The Ninja Crispy makes it easy. Check out the link in the episode description and go to sharkninja.ca. What did you make of Easton Cowan's NHL debut, Rosie?
Yeah, that was exciting. He didn't look out of place. I thought he was buzzing. You could tell that he was gonna make the most of every stride he took out there, and I love that stuff out of a young guy who needs to, you know, play inspiring hockey and bring some intensity and bring some energy and kind of leave it all on the ice, which you know, I don't think we see enough of on this roster. And a couple of chances here and there. You know, when you break it down and really look at some of his highlights, like he is he is skating as hard as he bloody can to every loose puck. He is finishing every hit as hard as he can. He's like jumping into guys because he's not the biggest guy in the world, but making sure that nobody gets the best of him. And I love that stuff. I knew he was going to come out like he's shot out of a cannon, and I thought he looked pretty damn good. Not at a place at all. We'll see as we monitor the next handful of games if he can keep that pace up, or if that's just kind of the excitement of the moment, and if he'll peter out, maybe flatten out. I fully expect that he can play like that consistently, though. He's a good firecrackery little player. He's young and he's got a lot to prove, and probably wants to start his NHL career off on the right foot. And I thought he made the most of his opportunity playing him with the big boys yesterday.
Yeah, bottom line, he did something that, the other guys they've looked at in the top line haven't been able to do in the 2 games prior, and that's make some plays. Like that saucy pass he made to Matthews in the semi breakaway. I mean, Cam Talbot made a couple of really, really good stops right there, but he was heavy on the forecheck. I think he had 3 hits in the game, 1 shots on goal, used his speed a bit. Like, I think there is a reason to leave that line together, at least for this game against the Nashville Predators, because they generated chances, right? That's what you're looking for. And I think the chemistry is going to take a bit of time, but I like the start of it at the beginning.
Yeah, and I think we'll take, combinations that can create chances anywhere we can get them, because I know we outshot them and everything, but I didn't think the chances were all that great, I thought we made Cam Talbot look pretty good, to be honest, and kind of perimeter stuff and stuff in traffic and last minute stuff, not really quality grade A chances that were like penetrating the middle of the house. But if he's going to play like that, I think he deserved another game playing alongside those guys. And Matthews might be a little bit stymied right now. I guess I'm tired of saying that or thinking that. The chances he gets, they just don't seem to find the back of the net. But we know what he's capable of, and hopefully the work ethic and exuberance of a young horny Easton Cowan can get him on the score sheet in a meaningful way, and away they go off to the races, and we can leave that a little couple game blunder behind us.
Hey, any issues with the last minute? We even saw this in Detroit, guys taking liberties, whether it's Knies, Cowan, and just the leadership core. We've had this experience before. Any issue with that in the home stretch there?
Yeah, I mean, some people are going off about it on social media, like Matthews is supposed to just spring load his gloves and start throwing bombs there. I don't really think so, but and they kind of get in there to a degree. I'm okay with that. It's when they're just,
you're being nice.
When Knies is sitting there on his knees, Knies would be the first guy in there, right? And again, like usually guys would argue they stay out of that stuff. Well, I don't want to take a penalty. Well, really, with how much time left on the board, I can't remember the situation, but you're not going to take a penalty as Austin Matthews if you go flying in there with your chest out and your head high and your arms down and just kind of grab those guys and just let it be known that I'm here for my guy, and Knies doesn't feel like he's sitting there alone getting mauled by 3 or 4 guys. That's obviously the formula, and I think people made a little bit bigger deal about this on the internet than I maybe would have, but just in general, as a season, as a team, you don't see teams that go deep in the Stanley Cup that leave their guys out to dry like that in the corner and just kind of like act like they don't see it. They don't even allow that situation to come about because they're always around their guys and the whistle goes and they're looking around for who's dicking around. And I would prefer if that was, in the DNA of this team a little bit more than maybe it is. But again, people kind of blew that up like crazy. Like Matthews is supposed to go in there like the ultimate warrior. And I didn't really see it that way.
It's quite incredible when you look at Matthew Knies, and it's like I haven't run out of great things to say about that kid, but like he's shown even flashes this year where it's maybe not his best game, but he finds a way to make a difference. And in the third period, I thought Matthew Knies took over this hockey game. Like the play he makes on the tying goal, the forecheck, just the leadership qualities, even what he had to say post game. I just could not be more in love with a player. Like he's what you want throughout you're scattered across your roster. And I just had to commend Matthew Knies for that third period of what he put forth there and just really, really putting this team on his back, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be many times where I don't have good things to say about Matthew Knies. Like, doesn't he kind of seem like a guy that Cowan would look up to and like try to emulate and I want to like do what he's 22 years old. I know. Like Matthew Knies is 22 years old. And like you just said, he's like sometimes he takes the reins of a game and he's the one that leaps off the page when they're just having a dog shit game or period and no one's willing to do anything extra to try to break something loose in the game. It'll be Matthew Knies who does that. And it's like, usually that's veteran stuff. Usually that's guys with more experience and confidence and abilities. But no, he's just like, okay, I'll be that guy. And he'll just go flying in there and hammer a D-man, turn it over and dig it out and spin off and center the puck for a huge opportunity that kind of sparks the guys and gets the guys moving around on the bench again, going, all right, here we go, and gives them some momentum. You would think that would be a guy with a lot more experience than Matthew Knies, but it's not. And I imagine Easton Cowan does look up to him and say, I want to emulate myself after the way this guy has made his mark in this league.
He's a natural, and I'll be honest, and maybe it's too big of a take, but he reminds me a lot of Gabriel Landeskog, man. Landeskog came into the league, and right away they're like, you're the captain of the Colorado Avalanche, and look what he did with that team, right? Look what he's battled back from. And I know that's high regard, but that's how high I feel about Matthew Knies. Like, just go and listen to what he had to say after the game yesterday compared to some other guys with the team. Like, the accountability is through the fucking roof, Rosie, okay? He had a goal and an assist. That's the last guy who should be like, I got to do this and that and better. But I like somebody who's like, no, we need to be better, because you're right. I mean, the analytics community and the numbers in the game yesterday, you outshoot them 40-15, and Cam Talbot stands in his head. He was like Alabama Huntsville. Cam Talbot yesterday, bottom line, you lost the game. You didn't play well enough. That's all I got to say.
So the 22-year-old was taking responsibility and accountability, and not everybody was. Hey, interesting stuff. Yeah, I know some people could argue that game was good or they should have won or something. Yeah, you should have won the game, but you didn't. And I don't know. I thought there was despite the shots or whatever the other, analysts will say the numbers were, I saw massive plots of time throughout the middle of that game where it's just a snooze fest, where no one's willing to go and say, let me take control of this shift right now and steer the ship in the right direction. Just didn't see enough of it, and you lost the game because you didn't give enough of that. Whether you got goalied or not, you can lose a game a million different ways, but I agree with Matthew Knies. I just thought it wasn't good enough.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's bring in now the man with the map himself, former NHLer, former co-host of Leafs Morning Take. It is Carter Hutton. Huts, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
boys, it feels like home here. It feels nice to be sandwiched between you two. That's weird. I don't say that very often. I'm sandwiched between two men, but I feel comfortable being here, boys.
Oh, you're such a beauty, Huts. Great to be back with you, man. I'm curious to get your opinion. You being the goalie, I watched Cam Talbot make 38 saves. Were the Maple Leafs goalied on Monday afternoon? Is that your read on things?
A bit. Cam Talbot was really good, right? He's a really good goalie. I think confidence coming off that win in Detroit and where he's at and his experience and where he's at conditioning wise for an older guy. I heard you drop the Alabama Huntsville bomb. I actually played against him in Alabama Huntsville when I was at UMass Lowell, and he was so good there. He carried that team, and he's had a great career. But I think there's a confidence factor of just not getting to him early, in my opinion, right? This is a game where you're starting early at home. You just came off a tough loss on the road in Detroit. I look for this team to be instantly better early, and I think you let him get to his game. He saw a lot of pucks. He's really aggressive. He doesn't really beat himself, Cam Talbot. So that being said, I just think the Leafs kind of made it easy on him, right? I think there was a few big saves, which you have to make, and then roles reversed. I think Anthony Stolarz, needed a big save here or there in a game where he wasn't as busy. But you got to make timely saves, and I don't think Stolarz had it yesterday. I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't want to start panicking yet. But again, I thought it was going to be a better response yesterday from the Maple Leafs, and it was, I think, in what they created. But at the end of the day, it's about winning hockey games and finding ways to do it, and they couldn't do that yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm kind of fighting it right now that, not going scorched earth or anything like that, but how do you pull positives out of that game? The fact of the matter is, Saturday night game in Detroit, inferior opponent, apparently. You get up 2 goals and just let right off the gas. And embarrassingly, they come swarming back. And the final score, you should be embarrassed of. You get another crack at it at home with your good goaltender in there. And they, what was your thought on their intensity level and just their overall approach to that game?
Well, I think the intensity level was there in a sense, but I just don't think it strings throughout the lineup, right? You look at desperation for certain players, but your better players need to be better. Just like Berube calls out William Nylander that he needs to be better because he has to be better, right? And on flipping the script a bit, Rosie, is look at the Detroit Red Wings, what happened. Like they lay an egg to start. Todd McLennan comes out and he just rips everybody a new one. And then what happens? His team responds, right? And that's what this league is about. There is going to be ebbs and flows of a season, right? It's 82 games and it's hard to be consistent all the time. But the effort and the way that you need to play to be successful in the Eastern Conference and the Atlantic Division is on the other side of the puck, and consistency and making it hard. We've seen this how many years in a row? How do the Florida Panthers play when it matters most? They're hard-nosed. They make it tough in areas. They interfere with you, and they just drive you absolutely bonkers, right? I feel like we've watched this for how many years? Craig Berube is trying to create a team that is sandpaper, that is hard to play against. And yes, there's going to be offensive freedom. Yes, there's going to be, when you get your chances, hey, you're a big dog, make it happen. But you need to grind. You need to make it hard on teams. And it's a great example of, this is like a little mini playoff series within the series. To drop 2 straight to the Wings is, in my opinion, just feels like almost unacceptable in the sense of where you're at and where this team's expectations are early in the year. Yes, I know I don't want to overreact, but we're in the industry of we process what's in front of us. And for me, I think it was a disappointing game at home where you can't find a way to win.
It's interesting to get your perspective as the former goalie. I could only wonder when like a goalie's playing like shit. It's like walking like on eggshells. What do you think it's like in a room when a guy like Nylander is playing like preseason hockey right now? Do you have any stories that remind you of a time like that when a star player is just not bringing it enough?
You know, the one that always stands out to me, this is the hardest part of this job. I don't know, Rosie, I don't know if you feel this way, is like guys I played with and being critical of guys. But the one guy for me that always kind of had me fired up was Tarasenko in St. Louis, because he was so good when he wanted to be, right? It wasn't the lack of effort, or it wasn't actually at times it was a lack of effort. It was just like you knew when he was on his game, he was a bull, right? There was no one that could take him off the puck, and he was so big and so strong and such a difference maker. But he'd be so quick to check out if he didn't get his cookies, if he didn't get his points, if he didn't get, like different times like that, where I get that vibe from William Nylander, where he is the difference maker for this team. He is one of the best players in the world, and he can be that when he wants to be, right? So I feel like that's why it becomes frustrating at times. And when it does go bad, right, now we don't have Mitch Marner to shit on, right? He's gone. So now where does that anger and angst, and when someone's not playing, where does it go? It goes toward William Nylander. It goes toward lack of effort on second pucks and retrievals and board play and the little things that help you win a game, where maybe other players, that just becomes second nature. We watch Matthew Knies play. We watch Bobby McMann, who's been good. Domi, like there's never that lack of effort, where at times the checkout and just stick checks and soft plays, where it becomes deteriorating to a team when he is your guy and he's not producing offensively. So for me, at times, your third and fourth line can win you games. They can get pucks in deep, and they can create offense, draw penalties, create an icing, and maybe get your big dogs going throughout a season. But early in a year like this, where there's games of magnitude and you're trying to set the tone for the season, and I know they've had slow Octobers before, but it is worrisome in a sense of the post-Marner era.
Exactly. That's kind of why I'm soured today, is watching some of Willie's not give a shit's plays. It's like, there's no team that goes deep and wins championships with even one guy like that. Like it just has to be buy-in from everybody. And, you got these new guys here, and Berube's trying to instill this, and what happened last year in the playoffs, and losing Marner, but we're going to prove that we got better. And then one guy is just like, yeah, I heard all that, and you guys all have to do that, but I'm not going to. I don't have to. I'm above that. It's just, it screams that. The body language, the look on his face just screams, I don't have to do that. And you got a young kid like Easton Cowan just chomping at the bit, his first game, and you don't think he looks up to those guys? And again, right, if you were on a 3-game, heater and points coming out your ass, and you get caught doing a couple of those things, yeah, well, you kind of take your foot off the gas, and it's coming easy to you a little bit there, and it's not the case. So, like, Willie, how can you justify that? It is a Willie Nylander thing, and he has that attitude sometimes, but for some reason that pissed me off today. But I digress. I was going to ask about the goaltenders here. You can't ride Stoli. I mean, Wool's gone into the abyss of no one's allowed to talk about it. Stoli's sitting there playing pretty good. Back to back here, I imagine you got to go away from them. What are you thinking with the other two options in between the pipes there?
Primo was brought in, right? I think you give him a chance. He's a little more insulated, I think, than he was in Montreal. He still has a lot of upside. Nick and I were texting yesterday about who got this start, and I'm not surprised they went back to Stolarz just the way that Saturday went. I know it's a little bit of a quick turnaround, but just thinking that the team would respond better, which they did, I guess, when you look at a box score and a stat sheet. But now you have to go to somebody else, right? I think you need to protect Stolarz. And for me, I circle back to, I'm pretty sure I was on the show when we did this last year, was he had that really, really good overtime win. Matthews got the winner in New Jersey. He had a really, really good game. And then they went back to him like a couple days later. You got to be careful, right? This is a guy that can be a difference maker. He's been hurt a few times. He got hurt in the playoffs last year, which was, a contact injury, a little different. But you're trying to protect him while Joseph Woll is out. I also look for this team to get a young kid to get a start to respond well too, right? Where at times when you have Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz the way they've played, you have a safety net, right? And this was kind of me when I started my career. Like I think at Caden Primo, I bounced around for a while before I really started to cut my teeth in the NHL. It's like when the backup plays, it almost gives you a little more reason to defend a little harder, to support that guy, especially backups are usually well liked in the room. You kind of have to be because you're not really the star. You're not really good enough to just demand things. And most guys are pretty down to earth when it comes to that because you're not really competing with anybody. So I look for them to have a good response. Just like we saw Edmonton the other night after a tough Stuart Skinner debacle, which we've seen so many times. Calvin Pickard gets the start. And what did they give up in that game against Vancouver? 14 or 15 shots. Like they didn't give up a sniff. So I look for that response, just being like, hey, this is the new guy. He's a young guy. We got to answer the call here, boys. We got to support him. So I look for that to be a big response here from a Nashville team who seems to be kind of finding a way to win right now. They're being a little bit pesky about those pesky Preds, eh?
Scratching and clawing one of your former teams, and UC Saros gets to win a 4-1 win. And I've noted in that game, Brady Tkachuk hurts his wrist, doesn't play the final 9 minutes, something to monitor moving forward from the Ottawa Senators' perspective. But I am expecting a battle of the backups. Can confirm Caden Primo is going to start this game, make his Maple Leafs debut here. 13, 24, and 7, 3.69, 884, 2 shutouts, 26. You can't forget down a couple of years back. I mean, he was one of the top prospects, at least looked that way from the Montreal Canadiens perspective. What is Caden Primo at this point in his career, and what's the expectation of any backup? Like you sort of talked about it there, but like we think Jussi Sanninen is going to go for Nashville, right?
Yeah, it will be. It's too early in the year to be going back to back. And especially when you look at UC Saros and like the Olympic break coming, he's going to be an Olympian. He's going to play for Team Finland. The game gets compressed a bit, right? So this is where you really need to, this is a bad time to be not having Joseph Woll too, in my opinion, because of the early in the season. You want to get these guys into a rhythm. So for them, I think for Caden Primo, the upside of his career would be like a potential backup. He can start to dial it in. And again, we expect so much of young players. We expect so much of goalies, of defensemen, because we see it, right? We see Matthew Schaefer step in, play right away. We see all these different guys come in the league and have success, but it takes time. And not everyone's on the same template. Not everyone's in the same position. And what I mean by that is if you go and play for the Florida Panthers as a younger guy and you get slotted into a good situation, you're going to almost have a better chance of succeeding because you're so insulated, right? Where as a goalie, it's a little different, right? There's no being put with a veteran D pairing. There's no, being on the wing with a veteran centerman and another winger. You're kind of standing on your own on an island too. So there always is that rush to get guys in the league. And I feel like the change between the NCAA and the CHL is going to help a lot of goalies, where when you're 19 or 20 in this major junior, previously, you age out. So then you have to go play pro. And usually you're not ready physically, mentally. Skill set wise, you're talented, but you haven't really put those tools together. You haven't been exposed to different situations. And then all of a sudden you're in the American League, you're in the East Coast, where now these guys that go to the NCAA get a little bit more time to, develop. It helps them. And great example, compared to Caden Primo, I don't think he has the same upside as Sam Montembeault. Sam Montembeault started in the league with the Florida Panthers as a young guy right out of junior. He wasn't ready. He was horrible. I played against him a bunch of times and he stunk. And now you look at Sam Montembeault, might be one of the biggest bright spots in that for younger goalies coming up who's, been through that. And it just takes a little bit of time thickening the skin. And what I think what's good for Caden Primo is he's not in Montreal anymore, but he's dealt with the BS of the Montreal market and not playing well and the pressure. Now he's in Toronto. He has a better team in front of him. There's a good, solid D-core. I look for him to be successful. And I think just going out there and playing and being in the moment, there is upside, but it takes time. These guys, it just takes time to be good as a goalie.
Mhm. And you spoke of, insulation and opportunity. And I think everybody thought that the 1-2 shot of Woll and Stolarz was pretty solid. Now with Woll being out of the picture, what do you think, the proper handling of Anthony Stolarz looks like as far as workload this season if things continue to look this way?
Again, whether it's good or bad, I think rest is going to be important, right? And again, you look at a lot of guys down the stretch, right? Is this a team? I feel like this is a team we're not concerned about playoffs, right? We're just like, where do we land? If you are in the hunt, you can win the division. Yes, that's great, because then you're not going to get a first round Atlantic Division matchup of the heavy hitters at that point. But at the end of the day, it's going to be based off playoff success, right? It feels like this has been this way for how many years now, the Toronto Maple Leafs. We don't even care what the regular season. It's a formality. We judge it. We process it. We see where they're at. So being strategic with a guy that's been injury prone, that he's missed minutes, because losing him last year hurt that team in a sense, right? Like there's just he was the big Stoli, man. He's like has a presence in the net. He communicates well. When he's like one of the most verbal goalies that there is in the NHL, whether it's cycles or reverses or just anything in the defensive zone, that becomes a tool as well that gets, I guess, maybe unnoticed in the sense of something we don't see on a stat sheet, right? Jay, Nick, you guys get this, right? We hear that all the time about like locker room and culture and guys that are around your team. There's value there, and there's value of him being healthy and where he's at. So being strategic with how you deploy him is going to be huge without a Joseph Woll. Because if Caden Primo has a great start, now you can go to Stolarz and you can kind of protect him a bit, because it's going to be a grind this year. There's going to be more back-to-backs. There's going to be more of a compressed schedule because of that Olympic break.
Yeah, even this week alone, they play like 4 different times, right? They play Thursday, they play Saturday. You're just going to need your backup. And I think people are living in a crazy world if they think Stolarz is going to play 55, 60 games. It's not going to work out that way, whether it's Primo or Woll or Hildeby. They need help when it comes to the depth chart in between the pipes. Huts, excellent stuff. You always help us out. Thanks for this.
Yeah, boys, thanks for having me on.
Thanks, dude. Good to see you.
Anytime. That is the one and only Carter Hutton, former Nashville Predators netminder, among others. We don't talk about the Buffalo Sabres in his time there with the Sabres, although it was a nice big fat contract he did get with the Sabres. They suck again, Rosie. We've been keeping tabs on that team. Half the team's hurt. Norris is hurt again. I that was the biggest coup of the century. I don't know how the Ottawa Senators got rid of Josh Norris and got Dylan Cousins in that trade, but I digress.
Wild. Yeah, it just continues. I'm not surprised with I don't know, it just becomes a culture or a snowball effect where nobody's happy and everyone wants out, and so got out, and this guy didn't have to stay in battle, and this guy, look at the success he has elsewhere, and the years are ticking by, and my career is not going to last forever, and guys just want the hell out of there, and it's just a slippery slope, it seems like, and I'm glad we're not covering that team right now.
Can you explain to me how the same doctors who wouldn't sign off on the Jack Eichel neck fusion surgery are like, you know what, we'll take Josh Norris. He's had 73 shoulder injuries. We'll take him. It doesn't make sense to me, but we're not a Sabres show, so we move on. Plenty of super chats in support of Sick Kids to get to. The Matt Dalton, thank you so much for your super chat. Angry Dalai Lama as well. But Robert Bett, thank you so much for your generous donation. Matthews needs to put some people in their place. Knies is the only person who seems to take accountability. I agree with that. Cowan deserves to be on the top line at least for a couple of games to see if he can continue at that level. Where is Nylander? Thank you, Robert, for all those questions.
Yeah, I totally agree. People, like it or not, if the Leafs aren't going to be productive and don't show signs of being a premier National Hockey League team, Austin Matthews is going to start getting the heat, right? It was pretty easy to start to gripe on Mitch Marner in the past when he's dancing around and he's soft and he makes soft plays and just kind of rubs guys the wrong way with the media. And you start to see the other teams, with some jam and some heaviness and play a different style than what Mitch plays, having all the success. Mitch Marner was in the crosshairs of a lot of people. Okay, that's been done. Well, if things aren't solid now, people are going to start to focus their attention elsewhere. And whether that's on Nylander, which I've been, made it aware this morning that I am not thrilled with what he's doing. I think everything about it is wrong. I think the timing is wrong. I think the player is wrong. The attitude is wrong. People are going to start to question whether the culture is wrong in there and the leadership is wrong. So a guy like Austin Matthews, needs to get his team in order and his ducks in a row. And whether he has that in him or not is kind of yet to be seen. But you are the captain. You are the best player. You do have all the trophies and shit behind you. You have the weight behind your voice to make change in that locker room. And if guys aren't taking it seriously, if they're not prepared to play, if they're not giving their best and honest effort, then you got to back the coach up by instilling his views when he's not around and holding players accountable. It starts from the top up. But if he's just quiet as he appears to be and doesn't really have much to say, I don't really know Austin Matthews very well. He doesn't give you a chance to get to know him, and maybe that's by design. But whatever he's made of has to come out into the locker room to keep that team on the rails and going in the direction that they want to get if they want to have the success that they aspire to. Because I'm telling you, it doesn't just happen by accident. You need the people involved to steer that ship, and that has to be Austin Matthews.
Lead by example for sure. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Steve Lorentz, by the way, was on the ice prior to the morning skate. I think it was it wasn't a mandatory skate today because of the back-to-back. Doesn't look like he's going to play. If I had to put money on it, probably the same roster we saw against Detroit yesterday. Again, if you're just tuning in, Caden Primo going to make his Maple Leafs debut in this game. 13, 24, and 7, 3.69, 884. 2 shutouts. I know Matt Harris in the chat pushed back a bit on my call that Primo was a top prospect of Montreal. I do vividly remember he was outstanding in his last year at Northeastern, 2.45, 908, I think, in the first year with Laval. He was up and coming, okay? He was a guy they were talking about quite a bit with Montreal and just fizzled when it comes to the crease. Jacob Fowler's another guy. We'll see how that works out, but Montreal's had these type of goalies before. But what I'm telling you is there's potential, and there's a guy who has done it before at a pretty good level, whether it's college hockey, the AHL. He's had some flurries in the NHL. I'm really, really curious to see if they can just get some saves from their backup. Like, it's unfortunate we're even having this conversation. They have, in my opinion, the best tandem in the league with Stolarz and Woll when they're there and active. And it's unfortunate that we're game 4 of the season and we're looking at Caden Primo starting a game for the Maple Leafs. But so be it. You got to rise up if you're the rest of the team too.
Yeah, it is what it is. Adversity, and this situation that they have in front of them kind of makes more sense on why they went out and got him. Like, you might not be able to rely on one guy. We don't know how this is going to go. And I can't say that the Leafs' performance the last 2 games has set him into a very good position right now with a lot of eyeballs, some scrutiny, a city that's ready to, kind of turn negative and really question what's going on in here. And you've got that teetering in the balance when you throw this kid in for his first game in a Toronto Maple Leafs uniform, where a team, let's be honest, they need a win here. Do they desperately need it? No. But are things going to start to take a turn for the worse if they don't? Yes. And if a guy like Caden Primo can't hold the water, then you need to try Hill to be out. And again, like you mentioned, you're just not going to play Stoli 60 games. You're going to have another body playing a bunch of hockey. And as of right now, Joseph Woll is not even in the conversation. So up comes Primo. I'm not surprised they're starting him. I hope he has all the confidence in the world and gets off to a good start, and they insulate him well and protect well and keep things to the outside, and they have bodies in the middle and they're picking guys up and sticks and all the things you need to do to help a goaltender out. But if that doesn't quite happen and you put him in a position where he doesn't get the job done and things start to go negative, then you might have to try Hill to be out and switch it around. So it's starting to make more sense now, the situation they're in, on why they did get a Primo and not just say, well, we got another guy named Hill to be, we'll just roll him, because you just don't know what to expect in these types of situations.
Got another super chat here from Angry Dalai Lama. Appreciate it. How might Willie's cool attitude affect the room? I was going to ask you, piggybacking off that question from Angry Dalai Lama, do you remember a time in your career where there was a guy who was similar to Nylander? Obviously, we don't know him personally, but somebody who obviously was a superstar, but very hit or miss sometimes.
Yeah, those guys certainly exist. But again, is there anyone like that on, the winning teams of the Pittsburgh Penguins? There isn't.
Florida.
And is there anyone like that on Florida? No, there isn't. And you can be Mr. Cool and Mr. Style and wear a purse to the fucking game and all the rest of it and be a new age guy with earrings and all that shit. And be cool and be fun and be chill and be whatever the fuck you want to be. That's great. But if you're dogging it on the ice, like, it's just not. It's just such a bad example. Like, in the room, you're in the training room and you're getting a coffee and you're walking by this guy, and it's like every moment and every second in that room is dedicated to trying to get the team to do well. Like everything, all the video, all the breakdown, all the machines and the workouts and the stretches and the staff on board and the equipment and the money and the supplements and the ice, everything goes into trying to get the team to be as good as they possibly can. And then there's this guy who everyone in that room would give their left nut to have the talent and the ability that he has, and he can't even bring himself to try his hardest. As a matter of fact, he tries so little in times that it looks embarrassing, where they have to pull it up on the fucking highlight shows and show 3 clips in a row of him absolutely not looking like he doesn't give a shit out there. I'm not trying to scorch earth on Willie, because I know he can flip it like a switch, but that's just not good enough. And I know him and Chief get along, and he's got Chief kind of where he wants him as far as saying funny things that makes Chief laugh. And he goes, well, that's Willie, right? And he gets away with it because when we need to dig in, he's there or whatever. That's great. But why even have to have that relation? Why not Willie is the guy that can be all lackadaisical and fun and chill and be Mr. Cool in the room, but when his skates are touching the ice, he's going balls out to show the whole world what he's got and to show his teammate that nobody's above the team and no one's going to get away with not working their hardest and being lax out there. But he hasn't done that for, in my opinion, the whole season so far. I know it's very young, but I'm obviously rubbed the wrong way right now. When I think about those games, I'm like, how the fuck in that game can you come out with that behind the back bullshit and half-ass getting it out on the blue line and barely reaching for that one and kind of getting taken away, not even back checking on a 2-on-1, just kind of, thinking of someone else. Like, that's just such a bad look for this team at this point in their development and the players and everything else. I guess I'll move on, but there's just nothing about that I like, and I hope it gets addressed immediately. And I hope Willie's the one that addresses it himself and says, all right, time for me to snap out of it. We're in the middle of the season here. It's time to go.
I can't wait for 2 weeks from now where Willie's on a heater and we forget about these conversations where it's like scorched earth, game 3 and 4 of the season. Sir Bob Laws writes in, leave my purse alone. And Alex say Penguins had Phil Kessel, so technically, yes, that is a fair rebuttal to your point about not having those type of guys because you played with Kessel.
Phil. Yeah, okay, yeah, I know, but it's just not a formula that you want to work with, and there's ways to go about it that lead to easy success. And being a guy that it's that good that doesn't bring your best is it's just not a good look for anybody. Especially I'm looking at the new guys in town and the young guys coming in and the Easton Cowans. It's a bad example to set, and I think Willie should hold himself to a higher standard than that, to at least give your best effort. That's all. Like just you have to try. You can't visibly be not giving a shit. Like, it's just such a bad look for a Toronto Maple Leaf. You just can't afford that. You're just asking for it in this market. So whatever. Again, I imagine you're right, Nick. And in 2 weeks, he'll be on a heater and we'll be laughing about how awesome he is.
Who knows, man? Maybe monetization's going bad with the new YouTube channel and things are just astray in Willie's world right now. Like, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? We got one last super chat to get to. Michael, thank you so much for it. Do you guys agree Florida, Tampa, Canes, New Jersey, Washington Habs do have a high chance of making the playoffs? This is the case. There'll be only 2 spots left for Ottawa, Leafs, Rangers, Red Wings, Boston Flyers, Blue Jackets. I disagree. I didn't have Montreal making the playoffs. I don't have Washington making the playoffs. It's early. I can't make a prognostication one way or another, but I will tell you this Maple Leafs team is good enough to make the playoffs. Okay, we'll start there, but it's up to them what they want to do with that.
I get his point. There's other teams in the mix and there's up and comers. And I think that's only going to be more of a problem in the next 1, 2, 3 years. The Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens, these guys are going to be coming, not just nipping at your heels and being close, but they're maybe going to overtake you in the standings. And I don't think that those guys that he rattled off are all slotted to be in the playoffs, and the Leafs are on the outside looking in, needing to battle. But I do agree with the sentiment that there's more teams that are going to be effective in trying for those wild card positions and whatnot this year as well as in the future. So, yeah, and again, like, just shitting away these points this weekend, it's just, 4 points in the standings when you crunch the numbers at the end of the year, it matters and it makes a difference, and it is different on who you play. And you see some of the roads some teams have to go through to get to where they end up, and you see other teams and who they have to play, and that's all indicative of where you finished in the playoff or in the regular season, the points you pissed away or didn't piss away. And again, it is only 3 games. I'm not scorched earthing it, but it's not the formula to be where you want to be at the end of the year. That's for sure.
Here's a good super chat question for you, Robert. Again, thank you so much for the generous donation. Would Pizzetta help this team? Not many goals, but the way he plays, he's a pest to play against, always buzzing around. I'll lean to you on that question.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, with everyone healthy and being around, I don't think he's going to get a sniff, but it's, people would laugh at me saying, well, you got to inject Pizzetta into the lineup and that's going to get this team over the hump. But when you do watch those teams, I mean, I damn near fell asleep on the couch there because it was just like, is anyone going to do anything out of the ordinary, or is everyone just going to kind of feel things out and stay on the outside and wait for that puck to just walk on that miraculous backdoor, opportunity? Is that just what everyone's just kind of sniffing around for and waiting for that to happen? And it's annoying to watch because you want someone to go out there and make something happen and make the crowd, make the camera swirl over there and what's going on there. And a guy like Pizzetta running around and hitting and getting it, where it needs to go and crashing the middle of the net and getting near their goalie and having their guys all pissed off. And, I wouldn't mind a little bit of that personally. Again, we were talking about who's going to come out of the lineup and this and that. And, Nick Robertson's probably teetering on it. And I haven't seen a whole hell of a lot out of him. I think a lot of people would raise their eyebrows at it, but if they brought Pizzetta up and inject him into the lineup to get some energy going, I wouldn't be pissed about it personally.
Corrupted Canadian, by the way, just to wrap, makes a really, really good point. I just wonder if they're talking about this on Golden Knights Morning Take, but Leafs 1-2, Vegas 1-0-2. So it's fucking early, folks. Anyways, it's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. I'm going to piggyback off this Craig Berube quote from yesterday. We need more out of him. I don't know exactly what it is, to be honest with you. I'll have a conversation with him, see where he's at and what's going on. That was regarding William Nylander. So I'm going to play the ATG tonight. And more importantly, I'm going to play the shot prop over 2.5 shots on goal. Does he have a pulse? We'll find out tonight. Tune in.
Is that plus money over 2.5 shots?
Last I looked, it was like minus 105. You're getting good value for a guy who shoots the pipe quite a bit. Like usually that number is at 305 and juiced. So I like the value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, decent. I hope he does. And he's the kind of guy who easily could. And that's kind of the problem, is he knows how good he is. And sometimes he decides to showcase that. And sometimes he thinks 60% effort is good enough to get it done. And, but I'm going to focus on the positive here and say that, him and Chief are probably going to talk and he's going to go, Willie, what's going on? Like, what do I got to tell you? Do you think you're good enough, or are you happy with your game, or do you give a fuck, or are you better than the team, or what are you going to show me here? And he'll go, no, I don't. And they'll act like you don't know what you're talking about. Those types of players, when they dog it, act like they're surprised to hear that everyone can see they've been dogging it. But then I think their competitive streak will come on. How about I give you a little reminder of what I'm capable of here, fellas? And they give you that little FU game, which I love that. I think that over 2.5 shots for damn near even money is solid. I'm going with the Matthew Knies point. Again, this 22-year-old is damn near the captain of the ship in my mind as far as making things happen out there. So going to jump on him anytime point. I don't know what that number is, but I'm just a Matthew Knies guy.
I love it. In general, just looking at that second line, they just need more. I mean, Berube said it in his post-game presser yesterday, talking JT, talking Nylander, talking Michelli. I mean, the Michelli things, we'll talk about that throughout the year. We'll leave it at that, Rosie. Carter Hutton, thank you so much to him from Daily Faceoff for dropping by the program. Also coming up tomorrow, your former teammate Hal Gill, Nashville Predators analyst, dropping by the show. We'll talk about his time as a Maple Leaf, get his thoughts on this game as well. So that's all coming up on the Wednesday edition, Rosie.
Skillsy. Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll break it down with him and see what's going on with that pesky Predators team that I know wants to leave their problems of last year behind and get back to thinking they are a front runner in the league again. So we're looking forward to talking to big old Skillsy.
Nashville 2-0-1 in the first 3 games of the season at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit leafsnation.com. Also, don't forget to check out tonight's edition of the Leafs Nation After Dark with Zach Phillips. Did a bang-up job today. Thank you so much, Zach, for filling in for producer Vic. And I'll be guesting on tonight's show, so hopefully a Maple Leafs victory. That's going to do it for us. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.